Hey, John here from Just Another Horror Podcast. I just went and saw the Blair Witch last night, and I'm going to start by saying that any reviews that you read on the internet about this being a remake, no, it's not a remake. It's not an updated version of the original one. Here's the thing with the original one. It felt real. The big complaint with the original one is that the acting is bad. It's because it feels like they're not acting, okay? With this movie, you feel acting. You feel the characters acting. The second point I want to make is the objective of the characters in this movie. These characters are looking for something. They're not filming a documentary. They're specifically in the woods looking for something. The third thing that's different from this movie than the original is that they don't spend a lot of time in town. The original had the feel at the end that maybe people from in town were doing this to them. I mean, you're not really sure what is happening to these people. In this movie, they want to answer that, for one thing. And the other thing is, they meet a couple characters who they take with them, and they're the only ones who know they're going into the woods. So don't, always listen to the internet. They're not always right. One thing they are right about, though, jump scares. Jump scares are... Let's define them. Jump scares are when something is thrown at you and the screen makes an unusual jumping noise, and the object of it is to get your adrenaline building, to get you on the edge of your seat, so that pretty much anything they throw at you will frighten you a little bit because you're not at ease. Well, this movie, for sure, has far too many of these. There's a scene that I thought did a very good job of building tension, okay? There's a lot of tension being built, and I thought in my mind, they got it. They figured this out. It's a scene with a camera. I'm not going to spoil anything. There's a camera they tie to a tree. It's got like a wide view of the entire campsite, and it's in black and white, and it's silent. And you're watching one character move back and forth, turn around nervously, you're waiting for something, and the beats that are in a normal horror movie, they take a little longer in this scene, and you're thinking to yourself, there might be something here. And then they just throw a character at you who makes a screaming noise. An unnatural screaming noise. And this kind of thing keeps happening throughout the movie. They show up out of nowhere and they start making noise. Not like a... And where it gets very annoying in this movie is when people are yelling for the characters and they show up without saying anything, without responding to them being called for. And instead they go... Boo! No good. No good. There are nuances in this movie, okay? And there are plot points that show up later, and, I love that kind of stuff. But then there's also a character who you'll know right away, and again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but you'll know right away, this guy, why are they listening to him? The movie disappointed me a little bit. The ending is fantastic. It's a blast. Everything you've heard about it is true. It's highly entertaining, and a little bit like your mind goes, what was that? And that really saves this movie from being really mediocre. The reason the first felt so real, besides the characters, not knowing how to act, was the cameras they were using. They captured things in a more realistic way, whereas this one was using more advanced technology, more advanced cameras, camera work. They even used a drone. And even though that's how things are filmed now, it didn't feel like you were in the movie, It felt kind of disconnected, like you were watching it from afar instead of being, invested in it. So I would say go see it. If you like the first one, this really doesn't have anything to do with the first one. I mean, the only thing you're going to get are like little minute plot points from the first one, which you don't need to see it for it to even matter in this. I guess you need to see it to know who Heather is, but I mean, she doesn't even play she plays a very minute part in this. Yeah, I would go see it. I don't think it's genre changing though. I know a lot of the commercials, and this is how Hollywood gets movies pushed through and gets people to pack the theaters when otherwise they wouldn't want anything to do with it. But this isn't going to change the genre. There's nothing in this that really shatters anything. Even the most, like, the scene that really grabs your attention in the trailers and the previews, a woman going through a tunnel, it was tense, but it wasn't, I don't know, you just kind of felt like she's obviously not going to get stuck here. So, I don't know. It was disappointing. I didn't go in there with, like, the highest of hopes, because I know better by now that when you get a hype machine and then you check the scores online and they're like 5.3 or stuff like that, you're like, something's not right here. There must be a disconnect. And there is. There's a disconnect. It's like a mishmash of good and bad, which when you're done with something like that, it comes out to be about a 5 out of 10 or something like that. So check it out, but don't expect to have your mind blown unless you're some guy coming from the gym, which, funny story, I sat by one yesterday. Two guys there's a gym next to the theater I went to, and they were wearing the shirts for, I think it was Planet Fitness. They were wearing the Planet Fitness shirts. They sit down a couple seats down from me because I had to go by myself. And the whole movie, they were just like, like screaming the whole time. And I'm like, the fuck? If you're afraid of everything, this movie will terrify you. But if you've seen your share of horror movies, there's nothing in this that you won't expect. You will get jumped a lot. A lot. And, if you don't like that, which I don't, because it's more like somebody coming up behind you and popping a balloon behind your head while you're trying to watch a movie. If you don't like that, you're not going to like this movie. If you like the nuances they throw in here and the very good ending, it's worth seeing. So, that's it for today.